Very good day to all of you. I'll be sharing with you a concept of data analytics and decision making. Because when we talk about data analytics, in fact, and decision making, the most common factor here, or the most important thing, is the data. Without data, we cannot talk about analytics. We cannot come out with the decisions. Even when it comes about decision, we talk about decisions. We want to make sure we are taking the best and the accurate decision, because we know there will be more than one solution sometime for the same problem. So how we make sure and have a very good confidence in taking decisions. This will never happen unless you have data. So data is the key to have a very good confidence on our understanding of the situation and coming out with decision making, accurate decision making. The lowest level of looking to this data and things around us. Data, it comes from a very, is a basic fact of information. You put it together. And then once this data becomes put it in a very good format, in a very good context, it becomes information. Based on this information, we are able to come out with knowledge and come out with decisions. We cannot take decisions from data, because data has no meaning in the beginning. So we are able to take decisions between knowledge and information. When you have more than one data in a very good format, very good understand it in a very good way. So we are able to take decisions, and then when you can reach to the final level, which is the wisdom, in a way that you can apply it and get more insights and hidden insights beyond what the data surface looks like. And if you look at it, we as users, in fact, no matter what domains, where we come from, we have been stuck with a lot of data around us. We deal with data nowadays in social media. We have Facebook accounts, we have Twitter accounts, we have our banking financial services. You're doing transactions through the mobiles and the online. You're doing gaming online. So you do purchases through the platforms, entertainment, so many things around us. We start generating more data than ever before. So it becomes more into phenomenon. If you looked into ourselves 10 years ago, we talk about a computer or a laptop of a hard disk of 256, or we talk about 512 or 1 terabytes of data. But nowadays we are talking about 2 terabytes. We are talking about big size of data. We talk about petabytes, zettabytes of data storage. Look into our mobiles. 10 years ago, we are very happy with 2 megabytes big pixel of resolution of cameras. Now we have very high resolutions of images in our mobiles. Storage of the mobiles themselves, we're very happy with 5 MB. Now we talk about 128 and even 256. We're still hungry to store more amount of data. And all this, in fact, lead to the phenomena of having what we call it nowadays big data. So a huge amount of data where we are not able to handle it in a very good way. It requires a lot of effort from us to understand it and manage it and process it, and then come out with a very good understanding. Then we realize it's about a huge data. We call it big data. Although the terminology, if big data here, is not accurate, because big data nowadays is not about the size and the volume itself. It's more into the insights that provides you in terms of, and it provides you also, or in terms of the different types of data, in terms of the shape and structure of this data. Some data might be in structured form, in tables or column, row and column, or it might be semi-structured or unstructured data. And also the velocity, the huge amount of data that can be generated in a very fraction of seconds, comparative to long time ago, where we used to have a very small amount of data. So this is a new phenomenon. So in fact, when we talk about big data nowadays, it's like an iceberg. You know, you think you know everything, in the top of the mountain, but in fact there is so many things hidden, and it needs a lot of effort for you to understand it. Although, as we said, the big data, the terminology is very might be misleading or very buzzword, but because it's referred to the size. Of course, a part of this characteristics of huge amount of data is the volume and the size, because we talked about, we used to have megabytes, kilobytes, gigabytes, terabytes of data, but now we talk about petabytes and zettabytes, yottabytes of huge amount of data in terms of size. In terms of variety, the data nowadays comes in different types of structure. Sometimes it comes in a form of tables, rows, sometimes of just numbers, videos, sometimes unstructured in terms of just text, semi-structured, multimedia. So velocity, the data keep increasing more than, in a way, being increased and processed more than what we used to do before. So the velocity of the data that we generate nowadays is much faster than before. The veracity also, which is a very big concern. Also, you have huge amount of data. We want to make sure this data is really reliable and very precise and have authentic information inside. And this kind of era in the information, in fact, we call it nowadays in the era of big data. It's because data is being generated very fast, and now we need to update our hardware and software to make sure to be able to process this data and to bring us the insights or the conclusion of what this data is about, what is the story of this data, what this data is trying to tell us. So why we do this? Because when it comes to the decisions, if this data you didn't have it on time, you didn't receive it, you didn't come out with solutions or result of processing this data in a real time, in the time that you need it, you're missing opportunities. It's like in the e-promotions nowadays, or like it's trafficking, right? When if the cameras are not able to capture the trafficking, jam, and it didn't provide right information to people ahead of the time that, oh, you should switch or move, change your line or direction from this way, then you will get stuck in a traffic jam. So then people are missing opportunities. So this is, we want to make sure that the big data is here to help you to understand the situation, you analyze it and deliver it to the right people in the real time. Same thing with the healthcare, with the people who are monitoring their health 24 hours and measuring their different factors in their health, and being in touch with the doctors in charge. And so in case of any emergencies, we make sure to reach them in the right time and we take the right decisions. The phenomena have been changed, in fact, because a long time ago, we moved from that companies where, because they have huge they have a capability to have computers, they are the ones who generate the data. So as a consumers, if you need to do any transactions, we used to go to the companies. Let's say if you go to bank, you are the go-to bank to do the transactions. We don't generate data, or we don't used to generate data. But nowadays, the scenario changed. We can do the transaction by our mobile. We don't go to the banks anymore. And the point is also, the new trend is, rather than also we having humans who are able to generate data, now we have machines that are generating data. They are having self-report, and they generate reports by themselves, or machine to machine. Machines are communicating with themselves. So all this have led to the new phenomena of big data. And if you looked into this new phenomena now, we have 44 zettabytes of projects now who are already involved in big data in 2020. You have huge amount of data that being produced by humans every day, which is amount of 2.3 zettabytes. So I'm talking about here more of almost about 28 zeros. And the new population nowadays, if you look at it, we have Facebook, we have China and India. Of course, China has a population of 1.44 billion and India of 1.39 billion. But in fact, the real new records is Facebook #1 in terms of population, because Facebook has 2.85 billion virtual active user who are actively having activities on a daily basis. So they are really dominating the world in terms of new population. So this is how we look at it nowadays. So the data is always around us, but now the huge amount of data that we start getting around us, where we moved from just big companies are generating data now to human, to machines who are really generating data. From 2014 to 2019, we moved from the concept of generating zettabytes to the yottabytes. And the beauty of this is the data are coming from more than one domain, from more than one factor. So no one cares when it comes to the analytics, in fact, where this data comes from. The point is you have a model, so we have to understand how we can analyze it, process it, and come out with the best insights so we can come out with accurate decision. And there might be this figure here saying it all, that in ERP, although most people think the data are coming from business industry or from ERP, but in fact they are coming more from the scientific experiments. Okay, so they produce to yottabytes of data. And if you look at it, we start talking about applications where they involve more data-intensive applications. I look into the bioinformatics right now, where they analyze the human genome, especially nowadays with in the COVID-19 situation, where now they try to understand the human genome, and because human genome is about 2.3 gigabytes, and it's all consists of text file. It's the FASTA file. And what they do is they try to see the virus when it enters human body and try to change this kind of sequencing inside the human body. So what the scientists try to do is they see what is the behavior of the virus when they enter the human body, what type of sequence they try to change. So they try to produce a medicine and to cure this disease and get back the sequence to the original form. So that's a lot of works is going now with the data-intensive applications in bioinformatics. The same thing with the weather forecasting. We know weather forecasting is not an easy process to forecast the weather. You need to have air pressure data. You need to have a humidity, the wind directions. You have to make sure about the temperature. All these factors you have to make sure we have sensors to capture all these data, process it in very heavy computation, and then come out with the decision. Or tomorrow it will be raining, it will snow, or whatever is the situation. And if you look at it, it becomes very accurate nowadays. The weather forecasting, it becomes very accurate. It says it will snow with this much percentage, it will rain with 70% possibility, 50%. Where this accuracy comes from? Data, because they keep storing the data. They have the historical data, they do the evaluation, and they come out with the insights and the accurate decision. So without data, without storing data and analyzing it, you will not be able to come out with accurate decisions. Same thing in the medicine field or with the astronautics, where this satellite that keeps sending on monitoring the Earth situation and sending very huge amount of resolution images from the satellite to the Earth. All this needs a lot of processing, and that's why we start talking about data-intensive applications. And these data are meant to be analyzed, to be understood, and to put it in a very good scenario, so you can come out with the insights. You can understand what this data is trying to tell you. It's our duty to do all this. Recently, in 2012, it happened a scenario where there were 6 Italian seismologists who are monitoring the Earth and making sure everything is fine, and the Richter device is to try to already show some kind of signs that there is a tremors is happening frequently for the last days, and a very high possibility that an earthquake might happen and might hit the city. So unfortunately, the scientists, they decided not to trust the data. They ignored what the system was trying to tell them, and unfortunately, the earthquake happened. So many people died, and disasters happen. So because of this, in people's eyes, they are the one who is in charge of this issue. They could have saved people by calling for evaluation. And the main problem was, the main issue was that they didn't put trust on the data. Data nowadays never lie. Try to tell you precisely what this situation is happening inside. And it's our duty to make sure to really understand what this data is trying to say and come out with the accurate decision. Moreover, we have nothing to lose, because the beauty of big data nowadays, although it is huge amount of data, we don't although it requires, hardware, but the hardware becomes very cheap nowadays. If you looked here into the maybe a long time ago, if you buy the size of 32 megabyte of a hard disk here, it used to be cost like around 500. Oh, sorry, yeah, 1 terabyte of data. It used to cost around $500, but nowadays it becomes 150. So the price of hardware becomes very cheap. So there is no reason for us not to store data. Okay, so, and not just in terms of hardware. Look into the softwares nowadays. Data, the core or the operating system of big data nowadays is the Hadoop. So Hadoop is an open source. It's just provided for free. It's an open source. Any company can use it, and you can analyze your data, and it's open for free. So you have a hardware, you have a software, and the beauty of this big community now in the big data processing engines like Hadoop and MapReduce is they have a very good facility to specify the computations in terms of doing what type of calculation you want to do in this data. Just give it the function to the system. The system will do whatever computations you want and give you the final result. Because usually this amount of this kind of software is also working in a commodity hardware. You don't have to have a supercomputer. You can use just a normal lab, a normal computer, computers, assign this task using whatever capability of each node you have, and the system will try to assign this task to each individual node, and the node will try to do computation based in their own capability and produce the sub result, and then there will be kind of aggregation at the end and produce the final result. So you don't have to invest much into the hardware or the software. And even if the software itself is also has the ability to look after the errors, and also give a very good way of communicating between these nodes in terms of the time and how much left for each process to be done. So there is no reason for us not to adapt the big data analytics and come out with accurate decisions. And there is so many softwares and commercial softwares, in fact, from all this. Also, we have Spark, Cloudera, GraphLab, and Hortonworks. Also, they're trying to produce and update these kind of big data processing systems all the time. So it's up to us now what we want from the data. So we have to imagine yourself like a chef. If I gave a data now for each and every one of you, I'm sure everyone will try to come out with the different decisions, different insights, different understanding of the data. So it's up to you what type of models you'll be using, how you'll use it, why you use it, and bring out the result like a chef. You know, a chef try to use the same ingredients and try to cook some recipes and produce a result, and come out with specific food, right? So not all chefs will produce the same taste, same quantity, same quality of the food, right? So it's up to us now what we want to do and how you want to come out with the data. And the beauty of the data nowadays, without data, you don't have confidence. So data is power. And nowadays we talk about knowledge economy. Knowledge economy, you don't depend on real resources, right? So you're doing about real ideas, how you really put it in a very good context, put it in real product, and doing a very good business. So that's what is the all is about nowadays. How you can move these things put it into actions and put it into money. So this is the big data analytics duty right now, where they try to transform the data, put it in a very good insights, then try to help you to make out these decisions. Usually, if you put it in good in business context, this decision is about money, the goal. But sometimes is data might try to not just reflect it in terms of money, but can be reflected on understanding your situation. If I have this data and I did analytics, if you're in business or whatever scenario, the data might conclude that, give you some kind of insight, will help you to understand your business. That's still a goal. That's part of the beauty of the data. So it's not everything will be reflected in terms of money. And all this now, companies, they are moving aggressively towards having business intelligence, where they have the kind of software, huge amount of data. They make sure they aggregate, they keep storing huge amount of data, represent this data, because huge amount of data, difficult to understand it. You need kind of data visualization, different good way of visualizing this data. You can understand what this data is about, and so you can come out with the decisions. All right. So these decisions, again, it should be provided with the right information, right time, and right format to the right people, so they can come out with the right decisions. Whether these decisions are, in fact, it's a personal level or government level, organizational level, it's all, it still need the same process. It goes with the same scientific approach of understanding the problem, developing a model, and come out with the final insights and decision. And the beauty of this data nowadays is, the point is, you must make sure you have a data, you store this data. And then what type of analytics, that will come as a next stage. So usually when we talk about this analytics, we have what we call it descriptive analytics, the very basic analytics, where you can find the mean, the median, understanding and describing this data, what is this data is about. And yeah, the basic questions usually we ask is what happened, which is in the past, or what is happening. Okay, so this is what we have as a part of the management information system, which has been old, in fact, since 1970s. You have a dashboard, you have a way of representing this data. But when talk about future, we have a new kind of analytics nowadays. We call it predictive analytics. Rather than knowing your past of what happened, now you'll be able to predict tomorrow how will your business will be looks like tomorrow, or next year, or 5 years from now. So what will happen? Why will it happen? All this involves, again, a kind of statistics, kind of involving data mining, text mining, kind of forecasting and modeling. And in fact, we realized that even knowing that what will be happening tomorrow, we realize that we are not able to come out with a decision. So what? So that manager, we find that manager nowadays, the system is able to tell the manager or the one who is using the system that this is what will be happening tomorrow. So okay, so what type of decision, what type of strategies you are supposed to take? There is a lack of a gap between in this area. So there is a new type of analytics came out. We call it prescriptive analytics. So even if you don't know what will happen now, the system will be able to tell you what should you do and why you should do that. So that's why we reach to the point where we're talking about a robot can take a decision, because you're telling the systems, you feed the system with the data. We have a data mining, machine learning, statistics, and mathematics. All this come together, and system is trying to understand it, come out with the insight, and take a decision based on what is the scenarios of this data, simulating it. So that's why we're talking about, we don't need to have CEOs anymore. We don't need to be people to be in a position of taking decisions, because robots can do that. So because of the prescriptive analytics, right? Which is very scary, of course. So we have to limit here what type of areas we should involve robots to take about decisions here. I read just a couple of weeks ago in United Arab Emirates, they're considering to have a robot as a judge too, because you have a constitutions, you feed it to the system. It's system can finalize the decisions. You don't need to have a judge in a court to take a decisions. So that's part of the scenario. So it's all about data. And this is a very good news because there is huge demand on the data analytics nowadays for people who are interested in doing data analytics. And the name for it, because you'll be involving much on the data. In fact, we have new positions, we call it data scientists, where you'll be able to apply many models and try to understand the behavior of this data and then help people to come out with decision making. And in terms of job ranking, it's number 37% is keeping increasing comparative to previous years. Job ranking also in terms of the 2020 is number 3. In terms of salaries, there is an average salary that keep increasing every year. Most of the companies are hiring people in this area, in fact, which involves also again people with the background of artificial intelligence, big data, and different fields. And if you look at it here, the scientists, there is still very huge demand for people with the background of dealing with the data and analyzing the data and coming out with decisions. So data scientists, there is 3% job posting nowadays comparative to the jobs search that is available in the markets. Very huge opportunities are still waiting people to join this field and share and understand it, so with a lot of benefits to them. And the data, where to apply, as we said, that big data or the huge amount of data, you apply it everywhere in terms of understanding the business behavior, customer segmentation, predictions, security concerns, or industry. All these are part of the examples that where big data have been applied in any field, because as we mentioned, data is just data. We don't care where data comes from. So point is how you can understand it. So like here you see the mobile company, they try to understand, identify the customers where they can upgrade them and provide them the right services. MasterCards, they try to analyze the data, their behavior of their customers, then they can award them based on the points that they deserve. Same thing with the banks nowadays, applications and upgrading their profiles and protecting their accounts from potential frauds and all this, applying for loans. All these are always done automatically within the big data concept. Applied also in the shell in oil and gas industries, understanding sensors where you can understanding the maps and oil where you can increase the output and efficiencies of the operations. Of course, nowadays we talk about the industry 4.0, fourth revolution, where it involves heavily onto the data. We have cloud computing, data, 3D technologies, wireless, automations. And this is in fact part of the things nowadays. Rather than we talk about the decision system, we are talking about automated decision systems. So where they are really involving much in understanding data and coming out with the best insights. And if you look at it, in fact, it's same as we do with the in our daily life. Now, when you try to order some products through the Amazon or any software, or like Netflix when you're watching movie, the system is trying to understand, and they understand what you are looking for. They understand, they give you suggestions and recommendations based on the data that they have, the historical data, and they can build up predictions on with a very good confidence that you'll like it. So you can see here they recommend to you this who bought this product, or they're interested and they bought this other product. You can see that the decisions now, companies are sending accurate advertisement to the right customer with the right time, with the right information. So they based on the analyzing this data and coming out with accurate decision. Because looking into, rather than having advertisements and emails, they send it to all people regardless of their interests or not. They cost them a lot of money. They have servers, they have maintenance. So right now what they do is they try to be very precise. They want to make sure if you like some kind of action movies or romantic movies, they want to make sure and direct romantic movies goes directly to the people who like romantic movies. People who like action movies, they will get action movies, and what type of new movies will be released so they can follow up with that. The problem with the data nowadays, which is available, because we said even we start producing data, the data, it becomes not in a shape or in the structure of row and column. It becomes, it has no structure, is unstructured. Like into things that we write in Facebook, right? You write comments. Nowadays, even customers, if they are not happy with some products, they may not call the customer center and complain about the product. What they will do is they will try to go to the social media and complain there with their own text, with their own language, and then complain about it there. So the problem is companies becomes very concerned about it. They want to know what their customers are talking about them, what this data available, which is not in their hand, not in their servers, which is really important for them to improve themselves. They're so worried and they want to make sure to follow up with that. So that's why a new kind of unstructured data, this is new where the companies start moving aggressively to adapt the unstructured data analytics, having big data, looking into the text analytics, looking into the natural language processing, analyzing the insights, and also the sentiment analysis of the customers, whether they're happy or not happy. And this is what you can see, in fact, with customers in Facebook and here in Starbucks or McDonald's, whatever companies they do. Because of this, if you look at it, if you allow me, I will be sharing here with you kind of a system where you can retrieve the data in real life. I'm not sure if you can see the slides. Let me check this. If you see, I will sharing it with you here. This sentiment analysis. Let's say if you talk about right now in Korea, you can see what people are talking right now about Korea in social media or in Twitter. You can see, get these insights. What are this polarity of these insights in terms of sentiments, positive or not positive? What type of comments are they talking about? This is just a small system, in fact, to give you a real drilling into the Twitter analytics in real time, and it can give you the kind of topics, what people are talking about right now. There are people are talking about some energy here, there is spicy, there is kind of YouTube survey. These are things people are talking kind of positive things, but people are not talking about unpleasant things in terms of North Korean wolves continue advance media, kind of things that people, you can see their insights and you can see the map where this comes from, who is sharing this, and you can get the real tweets of the people. You know, this is just right now. This guy might share something on his account in Twitter, and they shared some stuff related to the Korea or anything related to the Korea. So the point is, it's good to get the insights of what people are talking about and how far you can get these insights, so you make sure to reflect it in the decisions. Companies are really moving aggressively to adapt this mechanism of having data analytics, of analyzing unstructured data, using with the big data analytics, analyze this huge amount of data, classify it into, with using the sentiment analysis of knowing what people are talking about them, are they happy or not. Same thing do the governments, in fact. And all these are generalized in a way that it can help us to understand the insights and feedback of the people. So the last thing I would like to share is what it counts as big data, in fact, for companies, or for some company, a company might be not big data for others. Of course, if I give 1 terabytes of data or 500 terabytes of data to a startup company, you give it to Google, Google will not classify it as big data. So big data is just, again, it's up to you with your capability, whether it is big data for you or not. So that's it, in fact, what I would like to share with you in terms of the big data and decision making. if you have any questions or you want to ask anything, please feel free to send me email to my email here, absi@ahmed@kdunep.ac.uk. So thank you and have a good day again.